nights, so that was good before we turned on the screen. And we're going to do Elk Talk Live. The guys gave me the document here. This is episode number 109. Can that be? All right. Anyhow, brought to you by Go Hunt. Now with 3D maps on your desktop. Go there, use promo code Randy when you sign up for the Insider and get a $50 gift card in their gear shop. We put out a request for questions today out on Instagram and YouTube, or Facebook, and we got all kinds of questions. So, Randy, looking at all aspects of elk hunting, such as terrain, hunting pressure, elk quality versus quantity, tag availability, and season dates, what is your favorite state to hunt as a non-resident? Sorry, Montana doesn't count for you. It would depend on if I'm an archery hunter or if I'm a rifle hunter. I might have a slightly different answer. If I had a lot of time in my calendar, it's going to be Wyoming because I can hunt the archery season in September and come back in the rifle season. If I'm a rifle hunter and I don't have a lot of time in my calendar, it's probably going to be Arizona for my midterm strategy because I'm going to build points. And I'm going to draw a late season rifle tag every 4 to 7 years. And in the interim, you guys see there's all kinds of things I like to do down there. So I get a lot more out of it, out of that tag and that investment. So it kind of depends on what kind of a weapon you prefer to elk hunt with. But you have a hard time going wrong with either Wyoming or Arizona. And your fallback every year can be Colorado. Now, if you're an archery hunter, archery elk hunter, I would say Montana should be high on your list. We give away 17,000 tags to non-residents. That's a statutory number. That doesn't go up or down ever. It's set in law. So if all the elk died in Montana, we'd still sell you 17,000 tags. Or if they all had triplets next spring, we'd still sell you 17,000 tags. So jump in the pool for that. And if you draw, come here archery hunting. Our archery hunting in Montana is way better than our rifle hunting for elk. Best elk boot. Man, we did a video about keeping your feet warm. And it's about moisture management. It's out on our YouTube channel. And so this question is, the best elk boot, is insulation recommended for early November in Southwest Colorado? For me, no. I don't go to an insulated boot until it gets 0 degrees Fahrenheit or below, because I know the little tips and tricks that'll keep my feet warm. And what keeps my feet warm is not interjecting moisture into the equation. So go watch that video if you get a chance, and I think you'll be able to easily get by with a pair of Kenetrek, either Mountain Guides or Mountain Extremes in the non-insulated version into early November in Colorado. Just make sure you got good socks and keep your feet dry. And in that video, we give a lot of ways to keep your feet dry. And if you buy Kenetrek boots and use promo code Randy, they'll give you a $75 pair of gaiters when you use the promo code and buy a pair of boots. How much mountain house does your crew go through in a season? Can you talk about your choice of food while hunting? We go through boxes and boxes of dehydrated foods. Now, back in the day, we were heavy on Mountain House. I am going to tell you that Peak Refuel, is it Peak Fuel or Peak Refuel? We just started trying them last year. And I don't have any promo code for you. I don't have anything. But it's that next notch above any of the other dehydrated foods I've ever tried. And we go through a lot of it. Now, food choices, if we're at a base camp, we did this video also of how my wife makes amazing food. We put it in freezer bags or vacuum bags. We freeze it, and then we bring coolers of it with us. And when we get to camp, all you got to do, take one of those bags of lasagna or chili or stew or chicken noodles or whatever it is, all this homemade food, put it in, we have like a big boiling pot, like a big old cowboy coffee pot. You put it in there, put the lid on, and when it comes to a boil, after about 5 or 6 minutes, you pull it out, cut the lid off, slide it onto your plate, and you have unbelievable camp food from home. So, another way to go about keeping your nutrition level high and not feeling like you're going to have a gut ache every day. So, let's see. Yeah, Mike Mulligan says peak refuel for the win. I'm with you on that. Let's see. Oh, I'm not the only one who thinks about peak refuel. Look at all the people who like that. Someone says, is Arizona ever going to do their elk draw? That's a good question. It was February, whatever the last Friday was in February is when we thought we were going to know. We don't know. Wait, who knows when we're going to know? I guess it's going to happen when it happens, but right now, I keep checking my credit card like, no, still haven't found out. I guess the good news is I haven't been rejected yet, so I'm still in the game in Arizona. So, all right. So some guy says, hey Randy, I'm having some second thoughts about the application I did for Wyoming elk. Is there any way to find out specifics on harvest success, guided, public land, private land, Yep. I think they call them project reports is what they call them in Wyoming, if I remember right. But they're out there on their Game and Fish website. If you want to go hunt, they have the harvest success of every hunt code. They usually have more detail about, like for the cow hunts, they have all that. So that information is out there. You can find it. I'd either go to the Wyoming Game and Fish webpage, or if you subscribe to Go Hunt, I'd go there and they have it right at your fingertips for that state. Any idea what is the best state for a random chance at a sheep hunt? Even though this is Elk Talk, I'll answer this because it's very easy. It's Idaho, but it costs a lot of money. You got to buy a non-resident license. You got to pay all the money up front, and you got to pay this big transaction fee. I think I calculated that this year with the new increases, it's going to cost you like $280 for your one-time roll of the dice. But it has the best odds. So, let's see. Glassing into north or south facing slopes. I'm not sure why people want to focus just on north slopes or south slopes. I don't think, at least the way I approach it, I don't approach something about, oh, I'm going to hunt this north slope or this south slope. It's not that simplified to me. I'm looking for edges. I'm looking for transition areas. And edges, yeah, sometimes an edge is where the south face is completely barren, the north face is fully timbered, or maybe it runs northwest to southeast, and then you got a little bit different. And there will be a different pattern to that edge. Sometimes the edge is tree line and elevation. So I wouldn't just focus on it as north slope or south slope. I usually don't even waste much time on south-facing slopes until it starts getting quite a bit of snow on the ground. And then I'll pay attention to some of the south-facing slopes. But if there's not snow on the ground, I'm usually not looking at it. Let's see. Matt Schmidt, as a diabetic, food is king. I am the guy that carries more snacks than most do for a 3-day hunt for food. Mr. Paul over here is diabetic. Paul says he'll be carrying more than you do. The one thing we have learned from Paul is that don't ignore that. Okay? Take care of yourself when you're back there. He's told us some of the horror stories of how hard it is to keep your blood sugar levels where they need to be when you're in the backcountry. So, let's see. Montana archery elk hunt in Unit 211. I don't know. I get asked a lot of questions about units, and a lot of them I've never hunted. Like in Montana, I'm not hunted I've not hunted in region 1 or 2 in Montana. So sorry about that. Here's one for you. If you go to the Idaho Game and Fish website, so you've heard us talk a lot about how legislative policy works because there's so much going on in legislatures. Well, sometimes it isn't the legislature, it happens at the policy level within the regulations being written by the agency. So right now, if you go to the Idaho Game and Fish website, and I think it's About is the tab you click on, and then you click on News Rules or Rulemaking, they've been asked to raise their non-resident percentage for deer and elk tags to the outfitter allocation pool up to 25%. So it's like a 3 point some, it adds another 3 point some percent of the tags on the elk side and 12% plus something on the deer side. They have a survey out there. Idaho Game and Fish does. If you don't like this proposal, click no, and you get to give your comments. So go do that. I saw somebody talk about Idaho, so I thought, we probably ought to let people know that if you're a non-resident in Idaho, they're thinking about allocating more of the non-resident tags to those who book the services of an outfitter. Let's see. Someone keeps asking, hey, get Shane Mahoney back on your podcast. Shane and I have been talking a lot lately about a lot of things. You'll hear Shane and I on podcasts again. But thanks. I'm glad you like that. Hey, Randy, is accessing Forest Service through a river high water mark legal in Montana? Technically, what they say is while you're walking the high water mark, you're supposed to be fishing. So I'm not an attorney, take this for what it's worth, but some guys say, yeah, I'm walking there fishing and I happen to have my rifle on my back until I get to where the Forest Service or the river goes through the Forest Service. Then I'm on Forest Service land, then I go hunting. Montana, we have a thing called the high water mark, stream access law, where in Montana you can walk up and down a stream as long as you stay within the high water mark. Now there's a lot of questions, much like this one, that is not always as clear as you'd like it to be. And I just gave you an example of how some people are interpreting it. I would call the warden and ask the game warden what he thinks. So, let's see, we got another one here. What's my take on elk hunting in Oregon? Where does Oregon rank among the other states? I can't really say this for sure because when I had my tag last year, when I was going to go to Oregon, the hunt got canceled due to complications related to COVID. But if you look at the cost, you got to buy an upfront license that they give a very small percentage of their limited entry tags to non-residents. That makes it hard for people to think about going there unless they live in Washington or California, because very few people are going to drive through Colorado and Idaho or Wyoming and Idaho or Montana and Idaho to get to Oregon for elk hunting. They'd go hunt one of those other Rocky Mountain states. So it never reaches a high enough level that we spend much time talking about it. Maybe that's the short way of saying it. How many tags do I apply for in a year? I don't know. That's a good question. This year I'm really scaling back though. I mean, I'm still, the New Mexico deadline is the 17th and I still haven't decided if I'm going to apply. The odds get lower and lower and lower, and there's no penalty for not applying because there's not a point system. So if I take a year off from New Mexico, I can go back in the next year and no problem. So odds are I probably will apply in New Mexico, but there's just, I'm getting to be, what would I say? Particular? I don't know. Frugal? Cheapskate? I used to, my one friend says, Randy, you carpet bomb the entire West. And I did. I mean, I applied for everything in every state. Then I got to looking at it. I'm like, this is not a good use of my money. So I would say if you had to look, I always apply in Nevada, Arizona, Colorado, Wyoming, Montana, Utah, usually Idaho, something or the other. And usually New Mexico. So those are 8 states I just about always apply in. And I usually apply for elk, deer, antelope, and maybe pretty much sheep in every state other than New Mexico and Idaho. So do the math on that, whatever that is, 8 states times an average of 4. I probably apply for 34 tags, 35 tags in a year. Let's see. Will we do a podcast or a video on techniques for e-scouting for elk in breaks and prairie type terrain? I think all of our e-scouting kind of applies to that, but maybe that's a good idea. Maybe we'll add that to the list. Because you have more prairie type terrain where elk live in Montana, central Wyoming, the foothills of some of the spots in Colorado, some of the grassland areas of New Mexico. So maybe we'll do that. Randy, do you ever put tape over the end of your barrel during bad weather? All the time. All the time. So I have electrician's tape all over, in the truck, in the glove box, in my pack. Yeah, I do that. Let's see. I'm a hunter looking to fill my freezer. For a cow elk tag, can I leave the bugles and calls at home? Yeah, probably. I mean, in September, maybe it'll help you locate them, but usually you're going to be hunting cows in October or November, so yeah, leave them home. Probably not going to lose out a whole lot. Boy, some of you write really, really long questions. My goodness. So awful lot of stuff about moon phases. If you listen to my buddy Corey Jacobson, he's really particular about moon phases. Me, I got to go hunt. Our calendar's like we're going here and then here and then here and then here, regardless of moon phase. So I got to go and hunt. I got to make the most of it. And I really can't figure or point to any huge success or lack of success based on certain moon phases. Now, I will say that my least favorite time and my lowest success rates would be in September when it gets really hot and there's a full moon. You add those two things and man, it is really, really tough. So, let's see, when is the moose goat sheep deadline, Montana? It's just about always May 1st. This is Elk Talk, folks, so I'm high grading here and grabbing the elk questions, not the... So Gabriel must be from New Mexico. Hey, thanks, Randy. The chili state loves having you. Well, I tell you what, they just about killed me when I was down there one time. If you haven't watched that episode about the 5-alarm chili, that ought to make you laugh for a while. Pretty mild winter in much of the Great Basin so far. How has it been in the Northern Rockies, and what effects do I think it has on elk? It's been a pretty mild winter here, too. I mean, the snow is starting to melt in a hurry. We didn't have much snow this winter. So as far as winter kill, the elk are going to be in really good shape. Now, our worry is we don't get enough moisture, and we have drought and bad forage, lots of fires. There's the other side of that. If we have a really bad a really easy winter, but it can be offset with a lot of moisture in May and June. Sometimes we get that. That's like the perfect lack of storm. But it just depends. It's hard to really predict. There's sometimes if our winter is so brutal by this time of year, we can predict that, you know what, we're going to have a lot of winter kill. But we're not going to have that, but we have no idea what we're going to end up with as far as the summer moisture. So a little bit of all of that mixed together. Randy, where do you tend to find elk the first week of September? Well, I'm not going to give that geographically or topographically. Where I find them is usually within a mile or two of where the cows are gathered up. That first week of September falls in what I call the pre-rut period. The younger bulls are already over there harassing the cows. The older bulls I would say those are 1 to 2 miles away from the cows. They might go cruise in and just see what's going on here, and then they go back to what they're doing. So that's where I find them that time of year. How much does the previous year's harvest report go into deciding what areas you wish to hunt in your following year planning? Somewhat. I look at more of a trend, 3 to 5 year trends of those harvest reports and see what they're doing. Are they going like this? Are they going like that? Were they like this and then 1 year blip and then something? That can tell me some things. I don't like to rely on just 1 year, but historical harvest success definitely is part of my planning, and especially in places with a lot of general units. Colorado, Montana, Idaho, Wyoming. I look at those significantly and put a lot of weight in that because it usually gives me a pretty good feel of, all right, if there's pretty good success rates on bulls, that means the bull to cow ratio is probably pretty good. And if it's trending, it means the herd is probably going rather than shrinking. So I pay I pay quite a bit of attention to that. Let's see. All right, we talk about this in an episode that's about ready to come out called Lessons Learned, Colorado. The question is, in a remote packing camp, how close to the target area would you pitch your tent? I want to be at least a half-hour hike away from there. Sometimes an hour. Like when we were in Colorado last year, we went out scouting. I'm like, yeah, the elk are there. Whew, I'm really glad we don't have to move our camp. Our camp is far enough away. It's 1.5 miles away, which in that steep terrain took us about an hour to get there. So, oh man, this question I get asked a lot. It's a nozzler question. AccuBond, partition, or E-tip? When do you use what? And like I said, whenever I get asked this question, I let my rifle kind of tell me what it likes. I have great, absolutely great results with all of it. So it's mostly a function of what the rifle prefers. And usually it's not a big difference. I mean, the grouping might be just slightly different. If everything was equal, in my 300 Win Mag, I'd shoot E-tips for sure. In my 308, I've always shot partitions and probably always will. In my 7mm 08, it's probably a toss-up between AccuBonds and E-tips. Again, it just depends on which one is shooting best out of that specific rifle. Because I have multiple rifles in each cartridge. So I have some that you'd think, well, a 308 would, all 308s by Howa would like the same ammo. Well, some of them like AccuBonds slightly more than partitions, or the other way around. And so I'm lucky that I get to shoot a lot, and so that tells me what I should be using. So let your rifle tell you what you should be using. Do all elk migrate, or are there places with resident elk? Oh yeah, there's a lot of places with resident elk. Like eastern Montana, central Wyoming, those elk don't really migrate. I mean, they might move a little ways here or there, but No, they don't really migrate. A lot of elk in the big juniper flat country of Arizona and New Mexico don't migrate. You'll see elk in Nevada. Some of those aren't up on the real. Nevada has some elk in some really high mountains. But then it's got some in just pine juniper country. Those really don't migrate. So there's a lot of places where elk don't migrate at all. Or if they do, it's so small it really doesn't even, it doesn't really matter. For elk, do you use fixed blade or mechanical broadheads? That's an easy question. I use fixed blades for everything, but specifically I would always use fixed blade for elk. I've had too many people give me horror stories of a failure on a mechanical broadhead. So, and in, I think, Idaho, you can't use mechanical. I think you got to use fixed blade in Idaho. So that's no big deal for me. For me, it's just I use fixed blade no matter what. So how's Bo Beatty doing? He's doing great. Talked to him the other day. Excited to possibly get together with him again this fall, and hopefully we can go on a hunt together. Let's see. Some of you people, so funny. How many llamas does it take to pack out a bull elk? Two can do it if you want to carry the rack and antlers on your back. But we usually use 3. It's just no sense in bogging them down that far. They're amazing. I tell you what, you put a whole elk on 2 or 3 llamas, and you're like, I could get used to this, man. Especially when it's 5 miles back to camp. You get to camp, and then it's another 4 miles back to the trailhead. Llamas. Go run some llamas from Bo. I can promise you, it will be an eye-opening experience, no doubt. How is the public land to private land ratio in Idaho? It's really good. Idaho has a ton of public land, whereas Montana, we're 1/3 public, 2/3 private. Idaho, if I remember right, is like 60% public, 40% private, maybe even more public. So it's very, very good. Looking for a first rifle for my wife. Do I think a 7mm08 is big enough for elk? Yes. Yes. Quality bullets, good shot selection. Not even a question. Do it. Buy it and go shoot an elk with it. I have a friend in Wyoming. It's crazy how many elk he shoots with his 7mm08. And he shoots, I can't remember what grain it is, but he shoots Nosler Acubons. I think he's shooting 140 grain Nosler Acubons. And he is stacked up. So it's crazy how many he has stacked up. So, have I ever hunted elk in British Columbia, Canada? I have not. What scope do I use on my 270 rifle? I have a Leupold VX5 3-15 with the CDS style on that. And if you want to save some money on your Leupold scope, go to the Go Hunt Gear Shop. Use promo code DQ, I know that works, for 5% off. And every once in a while, you can use promo code Randy and you can sneak it in there and they'll give you 10% off. But DQ or Randy at the Go Hunt Gear Shop is going to save you some money on all your Leupold optics. So, is Go Hunt getting closer to finishing the beta version on their mobile maps and having the sharing feature figured out? Oh man, I wish I could tell you I got beta right here on my phone. I've been playing with it. They're close. So that's all I'm gonna say on that. Call them. Ask them. And see how much of that they're willing to let out of the bag. Let's see. Randy is there. You are helping your buddy Corey. Okay, someone must listen to our Elk Talk podcast because this question comes from the Elk Talk podcast, I bet. Randy, it sounds like you are helping Corey with his University of Elk Hunting course. What can we look forward to? So Corey's asking me to do a lot more stuff related to rifle hunting. Corey's got a lot of stuff in there, but I do way more rifle hunting than Corey does. He does way more archery hunting than I do. So we're going to be updating that with a lot of rifle hunting stuff, rifle selection, cartridge selection, how to find elk in the post rut, in the late season, how to glass, how to read tracks, how to hunt edges. I mean, Corey's given me a list about this long. So that'll be in his course. If you're interested, go to the University of Elk Hunting course. Use promo code Randy, and I think he gives you $20 off for promo code Randy. So, let's see. Do I use shooting sticks? Once in a while. When are the loopholed range finding binos coming out? You know, that's a good question. People see me using them. I have prototype pairs. I'm on, I think this is version 4. It's the second pair for me. But it's got some really cool ballistic calculating stuff. You can load all this data in there. And I gotta admit, don't let the folks at Loophole hear this, but I haven't used any of that part of it. But I love, like, click, boom, 2,600 yards. I mean, it's boom. And the glass they've put in them and the coatings, whoo, really good. So I don't know when they're going to be available, though. I should quit using them because so many people see them and ask me. Let's see. I've noticed you are a good shot with 300 Win Mag. I don't know about that. Do you use the 0-point values for your range, or do you always move your reticle? I have the CDS dials that I use. It's just out to normal hunting distances. It is so slick and so easy. That CDS system, I've been using it now for, I think they came out with it in 2011 or 12. So I've been using it close to 10 years now. Have I looked into putting a suppressor on my hunting rifles? Yes, I have. And I'm trying to figure out how to do it. But there's such a backlog on suppressors right now, it's probably not, if I did my application today, I probably am not going to get it until this time next year. But this year right here, you don't want a left ear like Randy has. Trust me on that. Get a suppressor, wear hearing protection or something when you're out in the field. So, yeah. And I wonder what people are going to say when they see me walking around out there if I got a suppressor on the end of my rifle. Are they going to think, oh, what's he doing now? For me, it's going to be strictly about preserving what hearing I have, what little I have left. Do I order CDS dials from the factory, or do I just range test it? No, I go and range test it, run it through a chrono, check out everything, and then I tell them, here's what the chrono is telling me, give them all my, what my environmental conditions are, what my altitudes normally are, what my feet per second is, and then I give them that information, and they custom etch the dial there at the factory. So, let's see. Archery hunting. You spot elk across a drainage. What's next? How do you decide whether to go for it, or how do you approach or sneak? Well, if it's archery season, the odds are it's gonna be in the rut. So I'm gonna look at the behavior of the herd. Is it one elk? Is it a group of elk? Is it cows with a bull? I'm gonna see where they're going, what they're doing. And then the first thing I'm gonna do is get out my wind checker to see what the wind's doing where I'm standing, and if it's on another ridge, I'm going to get my binos out and I'm going to try to see, okay, is there grass or trees blowing? Because sometimes on this ridge, the wind is going one way, and on the other ridge, it's going the other way. And then I'm going to come up with a strategy of how can I get closer, and get close enough that either I'm going to bugle and try to make him mad, or I'm going to wait him out and see what he does. So. Let's see. When does Wyoming release the prior year harvest results for deer and elk? I think they're already out there on the project reports, or if you go to their hunt planner. I I know Go Hunt has most of that stuff. So as quick as Go Hunt gets it from the agency, they post it up in their version. They call it Filtering 2.0. It's another place to get it. But have I ever hunted the gravelly mountains in southwest Montana for elk? Yep. Let's see. Does Sitka Gear make a Randy Newberg Elk Edition clothing line that's heavy duty? No, I don't think Sitka is ever going to make any Randy, Corey, whatever clothing lines. Jared says, when I die, I'm using promo code Randy at the pearly gates. Maybe it'll help my odds of getting in. Jared, the way you behave, I don't think promo code Randy is going to help you. You need something better than promo code Randy. How do you get better at open read calls? I've been practicing a lot and not seeming to get better. So, Rocky Mountain Hunting Calls, if you go out to their website, they have a chart. And they're the only group I know who does it. And this is such a game changer for me. So, I used to struggle with keeping the air consistently going across the reed because I have this big, wide, flat palate in the roof of my mouth. And so I was trying the ones with the little plastic, whatever they call the little plastic bubble on the top. And they just wobble. And then I tried some narrow ones and I still couldn't get it. Finally, Rocky Jacobson, the founder of this company, he saw me one day. He's like, come here. And he sits me down and it's almost like I'm in a dentist chair. He tilts my head back. He's like, oh man, you got this really wide palate. Try this. Oh, okay. Tried it. I'm like, well, a little better. He's like, no, you still need the different one. Try this one. All of a sudden, whew, is the greatest improvement of all the practicing, all the calling I ever did, came from about 4 years ago, Rocky sitting me down and sizing what type of call I should be using. And now they have that as a chart out on their website. In fact, we got it pulled up here. It says how to choose a diaphragm call. And the fit is so important to that. And once you get the right fit, then it's okay, what model do I want? Single read, double read, what do I want? So go to Rocky Mountain Hunting Calls, use promo code Randy, and they'll give you 15% off all of the calls that you buy there. And thank them for having that sizing chart, because I'm going to tell you, it's going to do more to help you climb up the ladder in your talents or your ability to use a diaphragm call more than anything is having the right sizing. So, let's see. Let's see. Annie hunts with Matthew. Hopefully. He's got so darn many points. I'm hoping that he draws something this year. That would be really nice. I'd like to go on an elk hunt with him this year. When is the next Fresh Tracks video going to be released on Amazon Prime? We just loaded up our final one of last year, which is a paddle fishing episode. You never know with Amazon. They get around to approving them whenever they darn well please. So we've got, I think from 2020, we've got 7 or 8 of them ready to go. We're going to load them up to Amazon, but I can't promise you when Amazon's going to give them the green light. It might be the day after we load them up, or it might be 3 months after we load them up. I know that's not the answer you want to hear, but I appreciate you going out there and looking for it and watching it. Let's see. Randy, I've been elk hunting in Montana for quite a while. The price of non-residents is getting pretty spendy. Yep. Do you think that the bill to allocate 60% of the tags to guides will happen? I hope not, as I'm a non-resident do-it-yourself hunter. It already got amended down to 39%, and the bill's sitting over there in kind of in a dead spot in the committee. I think there's so much pressure, they're trying to figure out, do we really want to do this or not? Because we're getting a lot of blowback over this. So I don't know if it'll pass or not. I hope it won't. It's not a good bill. It does nothing to help elk hunting. So hopefully it doesn't pass. And the amount of people who weighed in on that is crazy. How many of you weighed in? Thank you all for who have done that. Some other companies that make this possible, Bowtech Archery. Go to bowtecharchery.com. Check out all the new bows. I just said Rocky Mountain Hunting Calls. Kenetrek, I already told you can get your $75 pair of gaiters when you buy boots and use promo code Randy. Oh, Mystery Ranch backpacks. If you want to save 10% on your Mystery Ranch backpack, your black gold archery sights, your tight spot quivers, or your ripcord arrow rests, here's what you do. You go to the Go Hunt Gear Shop and you put them in your cart, and when you check out, you use promo code Randy. And if they're not already on sale, which sometimes they're on sale out there, then my promo code doesn't work. But if they're not on sale, you're going to save 10% on everything in your cart. Well, I shouldn't say everything. There's a couple things that are exempted. I think Sitka gear is exempted. And then we've got Elkhorn Coffee Roasters. Go there. They've got a bunch of singles now. You know how you're in the backcountry and you're like, how do I make a good cup of coffee this morning? Go hunt. Elkhorn Coffee Roasters has singles, big Hank singles. Go buy some, and if your order's over $30 and you use promo code Randy, you're going to get 15% off your order. And besides that, Scott and April are two of the nicest people in the world. They're working their butts off trying to build this new, it's the American business dream. Somebody has an idea and I want to make it work. And I want to see them succeed. So go there if you can. Buy some coffee. And use promo code Randy if your order's big enough. And then if you want one of these Gerber knives right here, go to Gerber.com. Gerbergear.com. If you go to Gerber.com, it takes you to the baby food site. Go to Gerbergear.com and use promo code Randy and they'll give you 20% off. And that always generates the question, which one? The more traditional fixed blade style, the DTS dual tool system, or the more, backcountry style, the EBS, the exchange blade system. If I'm not going way back in there, I use the DTS. If I'm going way back in there, and I'm worried, well, what if I lose a blade? What if I break a tip? Whatever it might be. What if one goes dull? Here I got 3 blades. I'm covered. So this is my backcountry setup. This is my more base camp setup. So now that we've done that, I hope you all understand that every once in a while we got to appreciate the people who make all this possible. That's what we do. Or that's how we are able to do this. Hope to see you running around Nevada this year, and I hope that Raptor holds together. I hope I get to run around in Nevada too, but I don't know if I will. Just depends on if I draw a tag. And the Raptor so far, knock on wood, is going well. After the one time we had a breakdown was in Nevada, I blew out the brake line in the back passenger side. Yeah. So ended up in Elko for a morning. They treated us well at the Ford dealership there. You remember the name of that Ford dealership, Jonathan? Anyhow, they treated us really well, man. They got us in there, and it was great. I was very thankful that they were so nice. Have you ever used a 300 PRC for elk hunting? I have not. I've got a 6.5 PRC that Howard just sent me. I might use that someday for elk hunting. I'd use that for elk hunting before I'd probably use a 6.5 Creedmoor. But I'm still probably going to use something else for elk hunting other than a 6.5 PRC. Someone says, Mystery Ranch doesn't have hardly anything in stock. I know they have a lot of packs in stock at Go Hunt. So go there and use promo code Randy and save 10%. Randy, is that a wolf behind you on the wall? Yeah, that is. We ate that wolf about a month ago. I don't know if you watched the video, but the next wolf I see is going to end up on that wall and end up in that freezer out there and end up in my stomach again because the flavor was pretty good. The downside is I destroyed it by how I cooked it. And since then, a couple chefs have got a hold of me and said, Randy, when you cook with a sous vide, here's how you do it. And one of them's from Iowa, one of the chefs is from Minnesota. I think I might fly him out here next time to cook that wolf for me. No sense in me ruining it. I felt terrible. I'm just not a great cook. Oh, Gallagher Ford in Elko, Nevada. All right, there we go. Let's see. What stove do I recommend for backcountry hunting? Well, it depends on if I'm backpack hunting or if I have llamas. If I have llamas, I'm trying to remember the little stove company up here in Townsend, Montana. Oh, how did I forget that? Oh, man, I should do a quick Google search. But anyhow, in these smaller tents, there's a stove company up in Townsend, Montana. Riley Stove? Is it Riley? Something like that. Anyhow, they make an amazing stove. So I use them when I can. What base layers do I run, synthetic or merino? It depends on how active I'm going to be and what the temperature is. If I'm going to be super active in cold weather, I use synthetic because I climb up the mountain and I can take that synthetic off, hang it in a tree, and it will be dried so quick. And then I can put it back on, and now I have a dry insulation layer. Or I don't even have to do that because synthetic transfers moisture so fast. My Sitka gear that's synthetic, sometimes I don't even have to take it off. It just transfers out of there and the sweat is gone in a short period of time. And then I have that synthetic layer that creates a lot of air pocket, and I have a great insulation layer. Now, if it's archery season and I'm sweating like a hillbilly at a hoedown, I want merino because merino handles sweat and stink and being, away from a shower for multiple days. It handles it way better than any synthetic ever will. So, which leads to this other question. How and when do you wear the Sitka Jetstream jacket? And would you recommend it for a general rifle season hunter? Yes, it's my elk hunting uniform in rifle season. And I layer it up based on the temperatures and my activity level. So sometimes I leave the truck. I actually have the Jetstream jacket on my backpack because I know I'm going to be super active climbing up to a glassing spot. And then when I get up there and all the perspiration is left, then I start layering up. Maybe I have a Kelvin light or I have something else, and I put the Jetstream over it. The Jetstream does what it's supposed to do, i.e. it moves moisture and it protects you from the wind. So, all right. So someone just confirmed, yep, that is Riley Stoves. What is my bow setup for elk? I have a Bowtech. Let's see, I got this one right here. That's a Revolt. At home I have a Realm, and I also have a Session. Mine are set up at 62 pounds. And I have a 29-inch draw length, and usually I can get 248, 250 feet per second out of a total 500 grain arrow, which has a 125 grain fixed blade tip in it, or broadhead. So that's usually my setup. My release, I have a Carter Quickie, I have a tight spot quiver, and let's see, what else? I have a black gold descent sight, 3-pin, 20, 30, 40, and I have a ripcord rest. That's what my archery setup looks like. So, let's see. I just got an email from Arizona Game and Fish to make sure your card is updated by Friday. Huh, okay. Well, that's good. I didn't get that. Maybe I got that email and I haven't looked at it yet. So, what else we got cooking here? Come on, folks. You got to have more questions than this. Jesse, if you use promo code Randy on your New Mexico elk application, it will destroy your draw odds. Jesse, you're giving me the hard ride. I don't deserve it, man. Come on. Do I think that the wind stopper that you use on your elk hunting Sitka Jetstream jacket, do I think that that the wind stopper benefit makes up for the lack of insulation? Yes. It's an outer layer. It's an environmental layer. Its job is to protect you from the elements. The insulation layers are different. You don't try to get all your insulation layers and your environmental layers from the same garment. You're never going to get it in cold weather of active hunting. That's why it's a layering system. So the Windstopper Jetstream it doesn't have a huge insulation factor for really cold weather, but it has a great wind stopping effect, and it has a very rapid moisture transfer ratio. So you use it for that outer environmental layer. It's got a hood, so if the wind's blowing, and then you layer up underneath based on temperature and activity level. So yeah, it definitely, that's the idea behind it, is, you know, something that provides all those environmental things, environmental benefits without a ton of weight, and allows you to layer, you know, maybe it's 2 shirts, maybe it's a shirt and a vest, maybe it's whatever, but you put that underneath and you're set. Let's see. How often is it that after spotting a bull and then trekking an hour to get closer, you get there to not spot the bull again? It happens. It certainly happens. But usually when I glass that bull, I will stay and watch it for quite a while, because I want to see, is it moving? Is it feeding? What's its behavior? Kind of what's its body tone? What's it doing? And that usually tells me how far it's going to go. And sometimes I get over there and it's like, all right, I didn't get there before it went to its bed. And this is in rifle season. So I'm going to set up somewhere nearby, because the odds are it's going to come out of its bed an hour before dark. And it's going to stand around in the cover for a while, and then it's going to feed out with about a half hour or so of daylight left. And hopefully I'm in the position where I'm going to be able to get a shot. Not always happens that way. I mean, I've had exactly what you mentioned. I show up there, it's like, I know he's got to be here. I mean, last year in my Montana elk tag, I sat on this bull waiting for it to come off private for a whole day. It was my last day of the hunt. I'm like, I know he's coming. I know he's coming. Guess what? He didn't. Oh well. Let's see. Question. Corey Jacobson mentioned that in season 4 of Destination Elk, he's going to be on a team hunt with several team hunts. Who am I taking with me as part of my team? I haven't decided yet. I have to decide before the April 1st deadline who's going to be my partner in that, because if you come with me, I don't want to tell Corey this, but we're going to make everyone else look like a bunch of downstreamers, because I got the spot. I got the Llamas. We're going for 8 days. I don't know who I'm taking with me. It's got to be an archery hunt. So, you know, you got to come in and be an archery hunter. You got to be okay being gone for 8 days from work and job and all that. I don't know. It's hard to say. I'll have somebody picked out, though. Hey, Ted, thanks for asking. How have you been doing as far as your heart and your progression after your COVID event? I was at the doctor today. They did an EKG. They said, that's good. My blood pressure is really low, as it always is. So they're sending me to the cardiologist next week. I'll give you an update then. Hopefully it all's well. It's just weird. And the more people I talk to about it, they're like, yeah, I'm having the same thing. It's like, maybe I'm just getting old. I don't know. So, what week would you recommend going to Montana for a rifle elk hunt? Either the first week or the last week. The weeks in between are really tough. So, that's when I'd go. Let's see. It's funny. Have you ever chased after a bugling bull only to find out it was actually a hunter bugling? You know, I'm trying to remember if I've ever done that. I think when I first started elk hunting, a time or two, I'm like, huh. And then when you get closer, you can kind of tell. And then Christina says, I could see other hunters accidentally chasing after Corey since he sounds so realistic. We're in New Mexico, and Corey's bugling, and I mean, he's really into it. He is, you're like, this is why the guy's the whatever, 10-time world champion. And we hear some rocks rolling down a hill above us. We're like, is that a bull? And out of the woods pops 3 guys. And we're set up thinking maybe there's a bull coming. And 3 guys, and they're like, where is he? And Corey steps out, and they're like, no way. I'm like, huh? And they're like, that's the most realistic bugle I've ever heard. I can't believe I got called in. And then they saw it was Corey, and they're like, aren't you that guy who, and I'm like, yeah, so it was kind of funny. Have I ever witnessed bull elk while fighting while out? I've seen them sparring, but I have never been one of those people who has stumbled into one of these just kill them, fight to the death sort of elk hunt or elk fights. I'd like to sometime. I'd really like to. Would it be better to shoot a cow or a spike with an elk tag and no opportunity at a mature bull to fill your freezer? Absolutely. This is the part, you've heard me say it many times. This idea that somehow spikes and cows are second-class elk, I don't buy that at all, man. Go and fill your tag with whatever strikes your fancy. And it's all going to be good eating. And then when you get down to it, that's really what we hunt for. Don't worry about all of that stuff. Shoot that spike, shoot that cow, whatever, and call it good. So, Charlie says, can you think of a better use of our stimulus money than everybody buying lifetime licenses for our kids in our home state? I think that's a really good idea. Because here's why. When I went to college in Arizona, I lived there long enough to become a resident, and I was so stupid I did not buy a lifetime license when I lived there. And now what do? Every year I give Arizona $160 or whatever it is, I can't remember, for my non-resident license. And if I would have bought my non-resident or my lifetime license as a resident, I wouldn't even be subject to the 10% cap that other non-residents are subjected to. So go do that. I like that idea. How many days scouting do you recommend on an elk hunt? Between my e-scouting and trying to scout for a day, or if I could get 2 days in advance, I would bet that for every elk hunt I have, I've got 10 to 20 hours of e-scouting in for that hunt. So what's that, 2 days at least. And I try to get there at least 1 day of scouting. So I've probably got 3 days of scouting between e-scouting and on the ground scouting when I get there. Randy, why don't you use the 30-06? It's a perfect compromise between a 300 and a 308 because the 308 is very close to the ballistics of a 30-06 and it's less recoil, it's less powder burn, it's a more efficient cartridge. So that's why I use a 308. I have a 30-06. My first big game rifle was a 30-06. It's a great rifle, great cartridge, but if given the choice, I'll grab a 308 over a 30-06. Just short action, I can get it in a more compact rifle, all kinds of things that for me and the way I hunt, it's just a better decision. But other people, I know they have 30-06s and they stack up the elk. So use whatever you got. So, speaking of rocks, didn't some people roll rocks down on you guys when you were hunting this year? Yeah, they did, New Mexico. We were sitting there and there's a road up above us and we're down in this canyon and all of a sudden little rock about this big comes rolling down. I'm like, oh, that could just be, a rock broke loose. And then a rock about the size of a volleyball comes rolling past us. I'm like, what the heck? And then a smaller one about the size of a softball comes and bangs into the camera. I'm like, what? And then I hear this noise up on the road, and then they let out a bugle. And I'm like, all right. I told Dale, the camera guy, and our guest hunter, Ty, I'm like, wait here. I start crawling up there, and I'm dodging rocks. And I'm like, hey, what are you doing? And they look down, they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Did we hit you? I'm like, no, no one's hurt, but just quit rolling rocks down on us. It's part of hunting public land. It's, they didn't know. I mean, let's see. Why don't I shoot a 7mm? Because I shoot a 7mm 08. It's not as, it doesn't have quite the ballistics of a 7mm Remington mag, but it's the same bullet diameter. It's on a short action. I can get a lot of performance with a very small cartridge, so I use that instead of a 7mm Remington mag. The 7mm Remington mag is an unbelievable cartridge, just like the 30-06. So it's whatever you want. You know, people want to get into all this cartridge stuff, and you probably get a feel for, I don't really care. I would say shoot whatever you want. Like someone's asking why the hate of the 6.5 Creedmoor. I don't hate it. I have 4 of them, but they're not my first choice for elk. Just how it is. So if it's your first choice for elk, go for it. Just use quality bullets. Make sure you have really good shot angles, and you'll be fine. So when you go to a wilderness area and you pack in on foot with no llamas or horses, what do you do for water when your hunt is 5 days? Camp near a creek, camp near a spring or a water source, and I bring our gravity filters in there, either platypus or catadine, and filter water. So let's see. No, my opinion on a 28 Nosler, super cartridge. I've got a lot of friends who have them. That's one I don't have, but super cartridge. Have I ever encountered an animal rights activist out in the field? Yes, if you watch our bison hunt from 2013, I don't know if you call them animal rights activists, but they definitely were right there in my face with a camera about this far away. 3 of them. Nothing I can do about it. So, Randy is to hunting what George Strait is to country music. Man, that's quite an insult to George Strait, but I appreciate it. I mean, George, he's the man, right? I went to a George Strait concert in 1984. Back when he sang Amarillo by Morning, This Is Where the Cowboy Rides Away. I mean, it was like his first album. I think it was called Straight from the Heart or Straight Country or something like that. It was like classic. It was it. And he hadn't reached the stardom phase yet, so it was at a place called Cowboys, a bar in Tempe or Mesa, Arizona. We're like right up front, man. Here's the king up there. Ooh, yeah. But I'm not that good. I appreciate it, but I'm nowhere near what George Strait is. This is pretty obvious. Randy, do you feel the mountains get steeper and the air gets thinner with age? Absolutely. I used to say, all those old boys, they're just whiners and snivellers. And now I'm like, I regret ever saying that. I don't know why I ever thought that they were just a bunch of wusses. They're not. Randy, how many rifles in total do you own? Just curious. Some spouses seem to think that there's a limit to how many a person should own. Oh, no. If 1 is good, 2 is gooder. If 2 is good, 5 is great. I mean, don't ever pass on an opportunity to buy another firearm. You know, we live in this great American society where the Second Amendment says the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So go exercise that Second Amendment right, and don't think about reasons not to buy rifles or shotguns or handguns, whatever. Think about reasons to buy them. Don't let that get in the way of your budget for tags and trips and stuff. Never let equipment get in the way of actually going. But how many do I have? Oh boy, I don't know. How many are on the back wall there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think we got 8 or 9 of them right over there. I probably have 40 more at home, and I don't know how many the crew has. You got one, right, Jonathan? Do you have any of mine, Paul? Oh. Paul's a traditional archery guy. He doesn't believe, he believes in that firearm stuff, but he hasn't been corrupted like I have. So, but yeah, I got plenty of them, but it's still not enough. My wife one time, she called me, she's like, hey, you got to get home. I just bought 18 firearms. I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, all the firearms you buy, you go through that, what is it, NICS or whatever, the background check thing. She's like, we got to have some that don't have any tracing to them. All right, darling, I'll be right there. So the guy shows up with the safe and 18 firearms, and my wife lays out a bunch of $100 bills. And I started grading through them. I sold a bunch of them and stuff. And with what I sold, we almost got our money back. So she's a good wife. I mean, I have never gotten an argument about how many firearms I need. She's got more than her share. So I know maybe that says something about us. But yeah, Greg says, so I'm supposed to tell my wife that she can't infringe on my Second Amendment rights? I don't care if you've got, if it's the wife talking to the husband or the other way around. No, don't let a spouse infringe on your Second Amendment rights. That's no way to run a marriage or a partnership. So what do I think of the ammo shortage? I think it's bad. I think people are hoarding their ammo. I'm going to be with Nosler tomorrow, Friday and Saturday. I'm going to find out what that deal is. They asked me, they said, hey, if we talk you to come over and shoot some pieces, what's it going to cost us? I said, ammo. I got cash. I can pay my bills. I can make payroll, but I'm down to about 3 boxes of ammo. So bring me some ammo. Don't pay me in cash. I don't know if they'll be able to do it. So, how was your career of a CPA a help or a hindrance to your ability to go hunting in your early days? When I started my own firm, I took every dime of savings I had, borrowed some money. So I really felt I had my nose to the grindstone, man. I was working. But it was all with an idea. And my wife always says, you wouldn't have been a tax accountant, a CPA, if hunting season was in the spring or if tax season was in hunting season. I'm like, you're exactly right, darling. So at our house, once we got all the debt paid off and things were going okay, all right, I got tax season, I got fishing season, and I got hunting season. Don't get in the way of any of it. If that doesn't work in your calendar, you're at the wrong house. So that's how we did it. Let's see. How often will you and Marcus be together in the field in 2021? I don't know. Depends on what tags we draw. That's a good question. Hard to say. Oh, Michael sold all of our ammo. That's what happened to all of our ammo, guys. Michael sold it on Craigslist. There we go. He probably didn't even use promo code Randy to you good people who bought it from him. Oh, would I rather bring a horse or a llama? A llama every day, any day, because I'm not a horse guy. Nothing against horses. I just didn't grow up in the horse world, and llamas are so easy, even an accountant can do it. So if an accountant can take care of an animal, no problems. Go with llamas. Did you mention that Bone isn't making broadheads anymore? Oh, I did say that, and then Jarrett got a hold of me. He's like, hey, guess what? I found a group that can do these bevels and everything the way that I need to, so the labor costs aren't going to be as crazy. We're going to be back in it. So, Bone broadheads watch for them. They'll be back. So someone says, oh, so that's why you became a CPA, so you could hunt more. Well, yeah. I didn't move to Montana to make money. My wife went from this is in 1990. She's making $40,000 a year working at a bank, the Farm Credit Services Bank, and she comes here to make $14,000 a year. And I took a big pay cut. We did not move to Montana to get rich. We moved here to hunt and fish. Heck with the money part of it. We'll figure that out later. So that's what we did. And I'd suggest to anybody, go do it. Best decision we ever made. Here's a bit of financial advice. Build your lifestyle around the lowest income level that makes you happy. Don't keep increasing in the lifestyle. Okay, I need 2 more boats and I need 2 more vehicles. I need the vacation house and the timeshare. Build your lifestyle around the lowest level of income that can sustain you. Because then as your income grows, you got more money to go hunting and fishing. That's what we did. We drove old junker vehicles. We lived in a house that it wasn't anything fancy, but we did a lot of hunting and fishing. Our goal was we needed to fish 60 days every summer. And we did that. While Matthew was a kid, we fished 60 days every summer. He didn't play baseball, Little League. He fished. And we put our mind to it and said, that's what we're going to do. We don't need all the money in the world, but we're going to fish more than anyone else. I didn't own a smartphone until my CPA partners made me get one. It was a BlackBerry. Remember Blackberries? I didn't have any need for a cell phone that's just static. That's the way people can mess up my hunting and fishing. Well, then I come back to the CPA firm and here's a BlackBerry box. You need this. So they bought it. So since then I've had one. But no, don't be spending money on all that goofy stuff. Build a decent lifestyle and go hunt and fish or whatever is your thing. You don't need 3 extra cars. You don't need the new car. Drive the one that's got 150,000 miles on it. You don't need, all the kids don't need 4 cell phones. You don't need 8 computers and 18 big screen TVs. You're not a sports bar. If you saw the TVs in my house, you'd swear that I was from like the Brady Bunch in 1972. I don't need a great big fancy $8,000 surround system. I'm out hunting. That's a sound system. You got an elk bugling in your ear. That's a sound system. So how in the heck did we get on that? I don't know. Randy, do you use electric fencing in grizzly country? Yeah, because my buddy Bo has it and because Marcus went and bought it. And now we have it here at the office. So yeah, we use it in grizzly country. Let's see. What else we got? You guys got a really good last one that we can really hit home with? RJ wants me to promote our merchandise a little bit. He said I haven't done it for a long time. So if you go to shopRandyNewberg.com and buy any item, use promo code Randy, you get a discount. I don't know what the discount is. So, sorry, RJ. I tried, man. RJ is our operations director. He tries to keep me on the straight and narrow. But so go to Go Hunt, sign up, use promo code Randy, get a $50 gift card. Go to the University of Elk Hunting course, sign up, use promo code Randy. Whatever you do, use promo code Randy and see how it works. Let's see. Oh, this guy's like, I'm going to be looking for a 1980s 4x4 pickup in the backcountry. Well, I don't have a 1980s truck. As I got older, I got enough money to pay. So I've paid cash for every vehicle for the last 20 years. And 2001 that was the first time I bought a vehicle for cash. Before that, I was on payment. And I said, so this is financial planning for elk hunters, okay? This has a lot to do with elk hunting. So what I did, every time I made a truck payment, I put the same amount of money in a savings account. And I kept doing that even after the other truck was paid off. I kept putting every month in that savings account. And by the time that old Ford F-150 was ready to go, I sold it to my brother, got a few $1,000 for it. And I had all the money over here to go pay cash for a piece of junk GMC. That thing broke down on me. It's a good thing it had a heated tailgate because when we had to push it in the winter, it kept our hands warm. It was the biggest junk pile lemon I ever had. And here's what put me over the edge. I'm out deer hunting in central Montana, and at 62,000 miles, the four-wheel drive system that they just fixed at 56,000 miles goes out. So I got to drive out of the area in reverse. It's the only thing that works is reverse. Somehow, when I get out of there and get out to the county road, I jockey around enough and kick and slam enough things and start it and stop it and start it and stop it. Finally, I can get it in first gear. If you ever drove from Harlowton, Montana to Bozeman in first gear, you're either at like 8,000 RPMs or you're going about 4 miles an hour. And I get it over to the dealership and they give me the rough ride. Oh, well, you're out of warranty. Well, what about we fix fix it, it's good for life warranty. So that soured me on the GMCs. So I ended up buying 5 Titans after that. And now I have a Ford. So here we are. But we should do one that's called financial planning for elk hunters, shouldn't we? Yeah. Live within your means. It's that simple. So that's why I don't buy a Chevy. You're exactly right. I don't think that GM could make a truck. I've had 2 of them. So I had a 1988 GMC. One day I come outside and all the paint is laying in the frickin' driveway. I had a paint spot this big that came off the hood of the truck. And then on the roof of the truck, I get to looking, I got a paint spot that big that's come off. And that transmission went snare wire on me. I mean, how can you mess up a standard transmission? It did. I was at the Pole Creek camping area up near Elko, Nevada when it went out. My wife is pregnant and we had to limp along back to Elko. Sorry. I know some of you probably have GMCs that are great rigs. And there's probably a bunch of great people who work at the GMC factory. But somehow, if there's 45 GMCs out there, I'm going to pick the one that's a lemon. So I just quit buying GMCs. Sorry. Oh, someone says, Randy, where did you come up with the name Big Hank? That comes, if you read the coffee package, there's a story there that tells you. About 1968, my grandpa Newberg, we're fishing at Twin Lake near Forbes, Minnesota. And he talked half Swede, half English. And when he was telling a story that the kids weren't supposed to know, he spoke in Swede. When he didn't cuss and swear, he spoke in English. But he said, Randy, we're looking for Big Hank. And so we were always looking for Big Hank. So it became part of my family vernacular of Big Hank. And I don't care if it's the biggest night crawler in the bucket. Like Matthew was a little kid one time. He's digging through the night crawler bucket and he's like, Dad, look, Big Hank. And he pulls out a night crawler that looked like a garter snake. I'm like, holy crap, let's get that thing on your worm harness. So he throws it out there and he's just like, boy, I'm going to catch a big one. He reels in a perch about that long. We have a picture of him holding it, smiling like Big Hank. So that's where the Big Hank story comes from. It's on the package, the Elkhorn Coffee Roasters package. Go there, buy some Big Hank coffee, and the story's there. So, yeah. Oh, here's it. How do you become a millionaire producing hunting TV content? Steve's got it figured out. You start out as a billionaire. And kind of the truth of that. So, anyhow, what do we have here? What's my biggest accomplishment as a hunter? I don't think I've accomplished anything as a hunter. So the thing I'm most proud of what I do and that hunting led me into is probably the conservation work and the volunteer work that I do. I've been doing that. Paul and I went to Helena to testify on a bill yesterday. And when I got up there, I was giving my testimony. I said, I've been coming to this legislature since 1993. And as I'm standing there giving my testimony, I'm like, holy crap, Randy, that's 28 years. No wonder they look at you like you're old and gray. I thought they were going to ask me if I needed a walker, a wheelchair, or a hearing aid battery when I got there. Because I've been going there longer than there's not a single person on any of those legislative committees who have been going to that legislature as long as I have. So I'd say that's probably the stuff I'm most proud of is the volunteer work that I do. And it's my hope that I've been blessed so much in my life that how do I give something back? How do I try to make it better? People made it better for me. How do I try to make it better for someone else? Because as you hear me always say, we live in the greatest country in the world. So accept that you know what? We've got a lot of blessings here. Let's go make something good of it. And so that's what I try to do. So I wish I had a better way to say that, but that's kind of what this Y is up here on that board. It says to promote self-guided public land hunting and create advocates for that cause. That's what we get up to do every day. And I quit my life as an accountant, so I don't have to be burdened with that anymore. So I get up every day, drink a little water. Oh, you like that Yeti RMF thing there? Have a cup of Big Hank coffee. Go down to the daily coffee bar, buy a scone here. The best scones in the world are here in Bozeman, Montana. And I come here, and all we got to do is create advocates for the cause of self-guided public land hunting. I mean, that is a hell of a life right there. I don't have anything to complain about. So if you ever hear me complaining about anything, put a boot in my bottom side and remind me that I'm the luckiest guy that ever landed on this planet. And I am. So, with that, trying to think what else we got. I think that's it for today, folks. We're going to chime in next week. Next week we're going to chime in because that's the New Mexico deadline day. Don't miss it. Go out to all these places, use promo code Randy. All the companies that make this stuff free content for you, go and support them. Thanks for being here. Have a great week.